All right, we're going to get started. So before I introduce myself, I kind of want to repeat what Dr. Wilner talked about. Like his talk was about starting where you are, but not staying where you're at. Something like that, right? So I want to kind of add on to that because that's the essence of my talk, my discussion, as Miss Jackson has told me, should be about starting where you are, but not staying where you're at because you are more than the moment that you are in. I repeat, start where you're from, but don't stay where you're at because you are more than the moment that you are in. So a little bit about me. I am currently working at Jesse D. Scott as a pre-K inclusive teacher. This is my 8th year teaching with CCSD. But before that, I did 3 years full-time subbing inside of CCSD. And those experiences really, really molded me to have a better appreciation for environments with students with special needs. So I'm talking about students with autism, students with Down syndrome, students with behavioral issues. I did not know about this particular school, but there's a transition school for children who leave juvenile and then they go to a transitional school and double doors with no shoes on coming to class. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this existed. But it gave me a chance to get to know that environment and appreciate all types of students within CCSD. I am happily married for 11 years. Uh-oh. Did I do that? I'm going to keep going, though. I'm happily married for 11 years, and I also have twin boys, but my boys are 9. And, yes, they make me cry, and they make me laugh, sometimes all in the same day. But that's making me a better father and a better teacher as well. So my educational journey, I like to talk about it because it was not consistent with me leaving high school and going right to education. So I actually graduated and went into music education, and I attended the HBCU, Florida A&M, Tallahassee, Rattlers, nobody? Okay. All right. We had the 100, used to do our thing out there in the marching field. A lot of fun. I think we got more respect than the football team, actually, but that's another story. So things didn't work out in Tallahassee for me as a music major. So I told my mom, I'm not coming home. I want to go to New Jersey and study culinary arts in New York. So I attended the New York Restaurant School in New York and just started cooking, just throwing myself into the fire, literally and figuratively, and working out there in New York. And wasn't trying to come back home. Didn't finish out there because the cost of living was pretty high. So I came back and I finished my music studies at CSN. And as soon as I was done, I said, you know what, I'm going to go to UNLV, where I finally graduated and got my bachelor's in early childhood education. So here I am today sharing my journey and sharing my experience with you. So the objectives today are pretty simple. I'm not trying to be here. I'm not going to be here and trying to give you information that you probably don't know, but these are nuggets that I wish somebody would have told me when I was coming into the fold. So the first objective is to discuss how embodiment is so crucial to finding out your pathway to success. Finding people that you can surround yourself with to be a better teacher. Reprogramming the way you think about yourself. So having a very high positive self-esteem within yourself, because how you see yourself, others will in return see you the same way. And lastly, there it is, I want you to create a better habit of reflecting. A lot of times when we reflect on the good times. Those are the best times to think about, right? But how many of us actually reflect on the times that were most challenging in our lives? For me, I think reflecting on those times that were most challenging, especially in education, is really what helped you to get you to where you're at right now. And in those moments where it just seems like I can't do this, it's too much paperwork, There's too many kids in this classroom. I'm ready to stop doing this. Think about those moments that were most challenging in your life, and I guarantee it will help you get through. So the 3 takeaways. Embodiment means finding a mentor, finding peers to which you can learn from, okay? Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, because just think about it. If you want to be a billionaire, you're not going to hang around with 50 Cent, okay? That just doesn't work like that. In education and anything that you do, whether it's music, whether it's cooking, teaching is the same way. And I can see everybody hanging with their cohorts and their friends, and if you're not, start building that community, because that's what's going to help you sustain yourself in the long run. And I don't know why it goes backwards like that. That's so weird. So the last part on there was finding space to really reflect on those moments that were most challenging, all right, reflection. So why is finding a support system so important? All right, so this is a time where I want everyone to close their eyes and think about your favorite teacher that you ever had in your life. Yeah, you too, close it out, close those eyes. Think about the teacher that was the most impactful in your life, okay? Now, usually when I do these talks, I have you turn and talk to somebody about why that person was so important in your life, all right? But we don't have time for that. So I'm gonna share my experience. But I'm sure as you open your eyes, you can open your eyes now. I don't want you to fall asleep. I see some people yawning out there. Think about that person. What made them so important? Now, for me, I am in early childhood education. So, go figure. My favorite teacher was my kindergarten teacher. And I remember going to my kindergarten teacher, and this was back in the day when kindergarten was half day. I was that student who cried every day for at least 2 weeks. I was mad. I was crying like a little baby, okay? Not proud of this, right? But I'm sharing this because I had to think about what made Miss Rayford so important, because I was going there crying every day. Now, my mom and her were good friends. They were sorors, they were AKAs. And this was during the time where kinder was half day. But Miss Rayford made it a point, no, Donya gonna be in here all day. That was what she told my mom. And I was like, no, Mom, I don't want to be in here. So she made me stay the whole day. And over time, I enjoyed the experience with her because she sang to me, she talked to me, she loved on me. And I'm teaching pre-K now. And guess what I do? I sing. I love on my students. I talk to my students. And every time I have a class, it never fails, I have that one student for the first week who cries and cries. But guess what? I can relate to that student now, right? So I know I'm not afraid to approach that person. I'm not afraid to talk to that person and love on that person to get them to be comfortable in my classroom. So as you are going through your journey, some of the people that you meet along the way will continue to inspire you. Dr. Beverly Mathis is one of those individuals who inspires me just to hear her passion about family engagement. Now, we probably don't think about family engagement in the classroom as much as we should as educators, but I guarantee it, if you have good family engagement in your classroom, as Dr. Mathis has really imparted into me, it makes your life easier because you now have parents deeply involved in what you're doing as well as working with their children at home. So that's a college professor that I look up to, that's a mentor. Another one that I look up to is Terry Johnson, and she was one of my very first team leads when I worked at Paradise. And I was working at Paradise as a sub, but then I was also going to school, and I dropped it. Well, I didn't have a mic, but I had a pencil. I was like, I quit. I'm not doing this. This is too much. I got school. I can't keep up, and I really couldn't. But she was the one that really, really made me feel comfortable. So wherever you go, get really acquainted with your team lead or that strategist to give you the support that you know that you need. Emotionally, sometimes you just need a shoulder to cry on, all right? But a lot of times you don't have ideas. Those team leads are there for. They have the knowledge. And lastly, this is something I wish somebody would have told me, all right? So in this slide, I have a picture of the office people. I got a picture of the internet with the computer, and I have a picture of a mop. So who can tell me what the office people represent? Yeah, office manager or front office. You know, why are those people important? I know that's the first thing everybody say. They sign your paycheck. Yes, they do sign your paycheck. So you do want to be nice to them, right? Right, they make sure you get a sub. Yes, all of that, okay? When your car breaks down, who you going to call? Not the Ghostbusters. You going to call your office manager, okay? Because they are the ones to make sure you keep your job at the end of the day, okay? So get to know those people intimately for supplies, for all of that. Now, we work in an environment where technology runs our lives, right? I can see somebody on their phone right now. And when we get inside the classroom and you're setting up and you have all these flat screens and then phone and all this other stuff that you need to get hooked up, your technology person, and there's only one in a lot of schools, and sometimes that one is only there for a couple of days out of the week. So get to know them so that you can get served first, so they can take care of you, right? What about the mop in the bucket? Janitor, your custodians, okay? Now, this is a story, true story, okay? True story. I was 10, okay? I was at a low point in my life. Yeah, you know when you're 10, you're going through a lot, right? But my parents were getting a divorce at this time. So I was going to school, and I was mad. I still went to school, but I wasn't going to be at school. I decided I was going to go to the restroom every day for that week and leave. This was before, you know, you could just leave out of any door. Like, it wasn't safe at all, but this is where it was, Argyle Gray. And I would walk around the school, the perimeter of the school. I wouldn't leave, but I'd just walk around the perimeter. Mr. Jones, I had a black principal, came and spoke to me and tried to get, talk some sense into me, but it wasn't enough. Because what did I do the next day? I went to the restroom and I did it again. I walked around, so he sends out the vice principal, who's really like the sergeant of arms of the school, but not even she could help me with my problems. So I left again on the third day. Who's next in line? The counselor, right? I don't remember her name. So she wasn't successful. Fourth time I did it, this time I'm hiding out in the bathroom. Who comes to the rescue? Yes, the custodian, Mr. Washington. And Mr. Washington sat me down. He said, son? Yeah, he said son. Like I was one of his. That's the connection that he had with me. He said, son, I don't know what you're going through, but you are more than the moment that you are in. That's the title of my talk. He went in even deeper and shared with me things I didn't know. I didn't know he spent time in jail. I didn't know that he spent time in prison. But he told me these stories, and it shook me. It shook me at my core, and it turned me around. And now wherever I go, wherever I'm teaching, I make it a point to really get to know the custodians on an intimate level, because they are people, okay? They have lives, they have real lives, they have families, and sometimes in early childhood, most of the times, I need help with some of the cleanup, like ASAP. So I just make it a point to really, really, because of my past experience, especially with Mr. Washington, to make that connection with those people in the office. So surrounding yourself with like minds, all right? So when I was coming up as a teacher, every Saturday we had to go to these new teacher orientations, and I actually felt like those were really cool because I got a chance to meet other individuals, just like yourself sitting here. If you're sitting alone, I implore you to meet, because this is the start of your network. I still keep in touch with those individuals that I met along the way, because those are opportunities. You know, every school has a personality, like every person. And your personality may not gel with that school. And you'll get to know what I'm talking about as you move along your journey. But as soon as you know that your personality doesn't gel with theirs, that's when you start leaning on your support. Okay, those like-minded individuals will be there to help pull you up. Okay, just like these guys are pulling up this net. Because there are going to be times where you're not happy, and you need to find out where you can go to be happy. Because if you're somewhere where you're teaching and you don't feel that love because of the environment, get out. Okay? Get out. All right? Because that's important. You got to be happy. All right, so My last part of my discussion, because this is a discussion, so anytime you want to raise your hand or have something to add, I don't mind. I really don't mind, okay? Draw from your past. Now, I actually started playing drums in church, and I use these examples because this is what I do as a teacher, okay? So as a drummer in church, my godbrother was the one that I wanted to be like because his mom was a barber, so he always had the freshest haircut. And I was like, man, I need to get my fade like that. And then he came with the freshest suits. So I was like, Mom, I need to go to Mervyn's and get a suit. Yeah, y'all remember Mervyn's, right? And so I wanted to be like him in every aspect. So as a culinary artist, I did the same thing when I went to New York. I found the cook who had the sharpest knives, who came, with the freshest pants on, the freshest shoes. I was like, I want to be like that person. The concept of me being a teacher has not changed. I look for those teachers in my community who I say, wow, they are doing some really big things and good things, and I want to be like them. I want to see what they're doing. So that's me drawing from my past to help me with what I'm doing right now. But how does all of my experiences, my non-educational experiences and my personal experiences help me to evolve to where I'm at now? And this is where I challenge you to dig a little deeper, okay? This is the difference between being a good teacher and a great teacher. Some of us out there just want to be good teachers, and that's okay. But if you really want to be a great teacher, think about some of the traumatic issues or trauma that you've been through in your life. Whether it's physical abuse, whether it's sexual trauma, whether it's addiction, whether it's homelessness. Think about dealing with those issues. And you might be asking yourself, like, wow, Mr. Willis, you're going deep right now. Yes, I am. And there's a reason. You're going to come across some children in your classroom who are dealing with some issues on that level. Now, they are not going to articulate these things to you. However, the difference between a good teacher and a great educator is the one that can discern when something is just not right. Your ability to figure that out and then go beyond and above to get them the resources that they need will make the difference in that child's life forever, okay? So I challenge you, dig deep inside your soul, okay? So that way, when it comes time to try to understand behaviors in your classroom, you have a reference point, because there's a reason why somebody in your classroom is not clicking on every cylinder like everybody else. I want to leave you with this quote before my time's up, because I can see, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm still going to leave you with this quote anyway. And this is from Humble the poet, and it says this: walk your journey and live your truth, and find smiles and relief knowing that you are part of a bigger puzzle, and your contribution is as important and insignificant as everyone else's. Share your journey with others, as they'll help you better understand yourself. All of our journeys in education are different, but we're all trying to get to one goal, and that is to make education for all better and more equitable. The sun will shine on all you differently. My name is Donya Willis. I am pre-K inclusive teacher at Jesse D. Scott. Thank you for your time, and bless up.
Well, thank you. We have time for questions. Are there questions? Oh, I'm coming. Yes, you do, because we got, no, you need the microphone because we are streaming to people who are not here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's not a question, but you had a picture of my friend Terry Johnson up on the screen, so I just texted her a picture of it, and she said, OMG, that's my Donya. She said, what's he talking about? And, yeah. It's okay. Well, I work with her at Heckathorn Elementary School, so I told her that he's talking about mentors and support systems, and she said, oh, wow, I'm honored and humbled. So.
Well, that was just sweet. Questions, questions, questions? No one has questions? Oh. I was just over there. She was like, how close can she get to the stage before I raise my hand?
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so I have a question for you. It's kind of off topic, but it's in the field that you're in. I'm also a pre-K SPED teacher, sub, so I kind of identify with you that you started subbing, and that's where I'm at now. But just real quick, how do you get your kids' attention like quick, or how do you do your transitions? Just real quick. I know that it's a little bit off topic.
No, that's a great question. Check, microphone check. All right. So I did teach second grade for a few years, and you can't do the same techniques in second grade to pre-K, right? But I try to modify it. So for some reason, this group of kids just gets hands on top, and they just do it. I mean, they also like Simon Says. So if I say Simon Says, they're like, oh, we're about to play a game. What is he gonna do? We gonna touch our head, our shoulders, and knees and toes. I'm like, that's how I've really been getting them all to really follow me, because it's a game. Just make it fun. That's my best advice. Just make it fun. Yeah.
Are there additional questions? I see y'all, you're thinking about it. Come on, come on. Who's got a question? We got 2 mics now. I'm good.
Hello, I'm Michelle.
Hello,
the question
Michelle.
that I had was, you stressed the importance of networking and working with like the people who are in your, for example, like grade level and like your community to find mentors. But what would you recommend or give advice for someone who, for example, me, wants to go into school and is totally for it, but the other people don't want to do it?
Now that's a great question. That's a great. Oh, we got snaps out there. Yeah, that's a great question. So, that's when you have to kind of reach outside of your team, okay? So that community that you built, that you're building outside of your school, that safety net, the network of teachers here, educators here, sometimes you have to lean on, in those instances, those that are not at your school, Unfortunately, you're right, not everybody's going to be on the same page of teamwork, and that's a shame, because that's not helping the cause. But in those moments, yes, try to really solidify, and that's why I say build that network of educators and surround yourself with other like-minded individuals, because there's more opportunities out there. And if that's happening at your school, that's a clear sign that you need to get out and find a space where collaboration is one, okay? Thank you for that question.
I had a question. You briefly, at the very beginning, had where you're carving out your own path. Like, my question was, like, I always think about this, like, it's hard to carve your own path when there's so many paths already carved for you, with rules and, like, certain things you have to do in those paths. So, like, how would you do that?
I'm trying to understand your question. So are you saying, like, when you have things that you have to do versus things that you want to do? Is that what you're...
So, like, basically, how do you carve your own pathway when there's already, like, all these rules you have to hit?
Well, think about setting your goal, all right? Like, where do you see yourself, 5, 10 years from now? Start with that. Now, there are going to be things that you have to do based off of, schoolwork or whatnot. But when you set a target so you can start jotting down, like, okay, how am I going to get to that target? Now you're creating your path, okay? So once you set your goal, if you don't set a goal, then it's going to be hard for you to create your path. So I think for you or anyone else that's trying to figure out how to create your own path, set your goal first. And don't try to make it too high. Make it a little bit shorter so it's more practical for you to achieve it. And then figure out what are the steps that I'm going to take to get there.
Mine is not a question. Mine is not a question. I just want to thank you for being a homegrown, battle-born kid, going back into the community, being a black male, going into pre-K. I just think it's awesome. I'm glad to see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Way more questions this session than last session, and I like it.
All right, that is about our time.